Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the Grand Poobah. That's right, I am the founder and editor-in-chief of thegaminggang.com. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Tuesday, September 1st, 2020. This is episode 535 of The Daily Dope. Yes, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you've never watched this show before, if you've never hung out for the stream, let me point out this is very, very casual, just hanging out, talking about tabletop gaming. So we chat a bit about the latest in board game news, RPGs, card games, miniatures. If it's going on your tabletop, we're probably talking about it. Plus, every once in a while, a little bit about PC gaming and pop culture as well, but for the most part, it's all tabletop gaming all the time. So, do want to mention, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already, and of course, if you do subscribe, ring that notification bell, because it will not only let you know when the Daily Dope streams live, Monday through Thursday nights, right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my review of Folk Magic of the Haven Isles from Monkey Blood Design and Publishing, which just went up yesterday. Got some other goodies on the horizon as well. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And also want to mention this is a live stream. Hopefully, more on that in a moment. So that means there's chat available. The chat is not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay, but I do pay attention to chat, or do my best to pay attention to chat. So if you want to say howdy, or maybe you've got a question or comment, by all means, please chime in. I will respond. So here's what was going on earlier. I start the stream 42 minutes ago. I'm like, dude, and I see there's people in chat, and it's like, yeah, okay, and I'm responding to people talking in chat as I'm doing the show. And it turns out the stream didn't even start. So, okay, so let me explain what was going on. So on my end, in my software, it's showing it's streaming. Shows like it's streaming. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm looking and it's showing it. We get a few little drop frames here and there. So on my end, it's saying, okay, we're streaming. But on your end, everybody out there is all of a sudden. Now, remember, this took like 35 minutes before, and people are like, oh, yeah, I think the storm knocked out the stream and things like that. I'm like, really? Because I'm showing everything's fine. We're streaming fine. Everything's all good. YouTube changed the stream key on me, which I think this is the third time they've done that. They'll change the stream key, which is just a code you have to put into your software so you can stream to your channel. And they don't inform you of it. They just do it. So, all righty. Anyway, so tonight is September 1st, 2020. This also marks the 10th anniversary of the Gaming Gang. Yes, it was 10 years today that my best friend, Elliot Miller, and I officially launched the Gaming Gang. We had started posting some articles in that prior to that. So unlike a lot of people, when they launch a website, they're like, oh, check out my new website. And they've got like 2 posts on it. We were actually posting reviews and news pieces and stuff like that, but we didn't tell anybody we were around. So when we actually kind of launched the website and people started to visit it, they were like, whoa, how did I miss this? Now back in the day, you got to keep in mind, there weren't a bunch of people covering tabletop gaming. There was the Dice Tower, there was Game On with Cody and John, there was the Spiel, there was Fortress Ameritrash, Board Game Geek was around. Board Game News was actually a website as well. But that was about it. And it was pretty crazy. So one thing I do want to point out in chat, I will say hi to everybody because I know who's kind of hanging out already from 7 o'clock on. So Voice of E is in chat with us tonight. If you watch the show at all, I mean, you're hard pressed not to watch an episode of The Daily Dope where I do not mention my best friend, Elliot Miller, who was part of the Gaming Gang when we launched. He's still part of the Gaming Gang because he plays games with us to do the reviews. So Voice of E is Elliot. So he is in chat. Howdy, buddy. He just said, hey, buddy, to me. Good to see you, hanging out, checking out the stream for a change. So I see Kabuki Kid is in chat with us. How you doing, Double K? The Madman, Flaming Huron, Melwinius from York. A Grade A was hanging out. I'm not sure if he is still here or not. And I also want to say Martin O'Brien was in chat. So we probably have a fairly decent chat going right now. Amazingly enough, all those people were hanging out in chat without a stream. So usually people get the notification that the stream has started, then they show up. So we might get a halfway decent crowd tonight. So I've got a lot of news. Tonight I have some giveaways at some point in the show. So maybe you should watch live. Then again, I will have some giveaways also for people who don't have an opportunity to watch live, because I know there are some regulars who check out the Daily Dope and they're unable to catch the stream live. So I don't want to leave them out. But we got giveaways. We got giveaways. So thank you, everybody who's out there wishing me well and a happy 10th birthday for the website, Not For Me. It's the 10th anniversary. Yes, I've already gone and changed all the graphics and stuff. You'll notice if you hang out to the end of the show that the outro is going to be a little different. So before I jump into the news, I also want to mention it is just miserable down here in the Duct Tape Studios tonight. It is kind of gross. Thank God the deodorant's still working. It's not hot. In fact, we had a bunch of rain come through. In fact, I think that rain is probably hitting the Madman at this point. We had some storms of that. I think it might still even be raining a little bit. So it's cooled off, but it's like really muggy down here. It's just, ooh. So my apologies. I am actually going to kind of, hang on. I got to get my makeup girl in here real quick to, yeah, right. Like I'd be wearing makeup. Come on. All right, let's jump on to the news because I got some cool stuff for us to talk about tonight. First, why did I wipe my face with that? Because there must be some pinky hair. It's now like on my nose. I do my best to keep the cats off of this area, and they used to never jump up here. But Smokey, who is my cat, has started to kind of try to like sleep because the cats come down and they sleep down here at night. What's that, Jeff? You mean to tell me that Duct Tape Studios are in a basement? If If you watch the 500th episode, you know what it looks like down here. Anyway, so Smokey started to sleep up here. So I put a bunch of stuff to try to keep her off of it, but she still comes up here. So that also means Pinky likes to, you know, kind of follow suit. I gotta love those little fart blossoms. All right, let's jump on into the news because there is a new edition of the strategy game Polis. It's on the horizon. It's coming from Devir Games or Devir Games. I'm not sure about the pronunciation. I wish I had more images to share. All I've got is the box cover, but here is the dope. Polis is a two-player Civ light game set in the beginning of the conflict between the two major polis of the 5th century BC, Athens and the Delian League against Sparta and the Peloponnesian League. The winner will be the empire with more population and prestige at the end of the game. Both players must secure their supplies and the routes to 5 markets to trade with them. Every turn you get goods from a territory where you have population supporting your empire, but you should feed them. You can fight for control of the territories and siege other polis, or you might use your diplomacy to convince a polis to join your league. But polis are proud, wouldn't that be poli? Are proud of their independence, so you will have to create some projects to gain prestige needed for your military maneuvers. Obviously, this is not an English language game originally. You can really tell that this has been translated somewhatly badly, I guess we'll say, because reading it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Kind of jumps around a little bit. Anyway, this new edition of Polis, which is an award-winning game, and I have heard really good things about this. It's just the sell sheet info is a little iffy. Anyway, so this new edition does have updated revised rules as well as new art to enhance your game experience. Polis is for 2 players, ages 12 and up, plays in 1 to 2 hours, and it will carry an MSRP of $69.99 when it arrives in October. Like I said, I wish I had more that I could share with you, but as far as this new edition, all that Devir Games has shared is the cover. Now, of course, I could go in there and grab some images from Board Game Geek of previous editions, but there's talk that there's a lot that's been changed. So A Gray Day has mentioned that they assume it's different than the other Polis game. You know what? It is. It is a different game. There are 2, if you take a look, there are 2 different Polis. One is, yes, designed by Leo Calavini or whatever. And then there's this. So, yeah, Flaming Heron says, yeah, it's weird they ain't showing any of the game. Yes, especially since it carries a $69.99 price tag on it. I'm a little surprised. All right, so talking about new editions, there is a new edition of The King is Dead. It's heading your way this October from Osprey Games. I've got the dope. The King is dead. The kingdom is divided. 3 factions, the Scottish, the Welsh, and the English, vie for control, and across the sea, foreign invaders prepare to take advantage of the chaos. Players must marshal their limited resources to influence this power struggle while ensuring that the faction that rises to dominate the realm favors them above all other claimants to the throne. The King is Dead 2nd edition refreshes the accessible yet strikingly deep game with updated graphic design, gorgeous new artwork, and a new what the hell? That is not the correct word. I'm like, it says asystematic. No joke. It's asymmetric. It should be asymmetrical or asymmetric. That's what threw me off. I'm like, did I just read that right? All right, so let's try it this way. So this includes a new asymmetric game mode for advanced play. It's kind of weird because this is not translated because Osprey is over in Europe, in England. So, The King is Dead is a board game of politics and power struggles set in Britain in the chaotic period following the death of King Arthur. For the good of the country, a leader must unite the Scots, Welsh, and Romano-British, not by conquest, but by diplomacy. Players are members of King Arthur's court, whether a loyal knight, a scheming lord, I have a cunning plan, my lord, or an ambitious noblewoman, you all have one thing in common: power. As prospective leaders, each player uses their power to benefit the factions, gaining influence among their ranks. The player with the greatest influence over the most powerful faction is crowned the new ruler of Britain. The King is Dead is for 2 to 4 players, ages 12 and up, plays in 30 to 50 minutes. The game is going to carry an MSRP of $40 when it hits stores on October 29th, right after my birthday. Cool. So I have heard, sort of through the grapevine, because we have 3 factions, and then we have like these foreign invaders in the original game. I thought I ran across that this new edition is also going to include some more mystical fantasy sort of options for you in the game as well, because The King is Dead is, even though there's no guarantee that King Arthur actually existed, there's, the debate is still on about that. But supposedly there's like, I don't think there's like magic and stuff like that, but I think there's like the introduction of the Fae, things like that as well. I don't know. This is pretty interesting. Maybe we see a review copy from Osprey. It looks like they did move this up as well, because I could have swore that I had ran across this was supposed to be coming out in November. And then I looked again, and a few days later, now it's like end of October. So kind of cool. Looks like it's nice and portable. Plus, it's designed by Pierre Sylvester, who designed the Lost Expedition, which I am a big fan of. I know Elliot Miller, voice of V, hanging out in chat. He's enjoyed playing the Lost Expedition with us as well. Speaking of chat, Andrew McDonald has popped in to say hello. Howdy, howdy, Andrew. I believe this might be your first visit with us in chat. So welcome aboard. Good to see you. So this is a new edition. Let's talk about a new print run of a game, because a new print run of Food Chain Magnet is arriving next week from Splotter Spellen. I believe they're Dutch. I think it's a Dutch game company. And once I wipe away cat hair, I will give you the dope. Lemonade? They want lemonade? What is this world coming to? I want commercials for burgers on all channels every 15 minutes. We are the home of the original burger, not a hippie health haven. And place a billboard next to that new house on the corner. I want them craving beer every second they sit in their posh new garden. The new management trainee trembles in front of the CEO and tries politely to point out that, how do you mean? We don't have enough staff. The HR director reports to you. Hire more people, train them. But whatever you do, don't pay them any real wages. I didn't get into business to become poor. And fire that discount manager. She's costing us money. From now on, we're selling gourmet burgers. Same crap, double the price. Get my marketing director in here. Food Chain Magnet is a heavy strategy game about building a fast food chain. The focus is on building your company using a card-driven human resource management system. Players compete on a variable city map through purchasing, marketing, and sales, and on a job market for key staff members. Food Chain Magnet is for 2 to 5 players, ages 14 and up, plays in 2 to 4 hours, and this new print run will carry an MSRP of $95. Yowza! I have covered this game before. It's been a few years. It looks really interesting. I wish I had images that shows like the entire layout of the game. But once again, this is another company that doesn't share like a full like layout of the game. I have heard that this is um, a very good game. I've heard a lot of people really enjoy it, but it is very deep and it takes up tons of room on the game table. Thus, it does carry that $95 MSRP. I think there are some expansions for it as well. I think one expansion, something about ketchup, it's called something ketchup, is also coming out next week. This game is so popular that this is either the 9th or 10th print run for Food Chain Magnet. That is pretty wild. That is pretty wild there. So some discussion going on in chat here. So Flaming Heron's talking about The King is Dead. And if they handle it well, they don't mind, some magic or something being thrown into a more realistic setting. So Kabuki Kid is mentioning that in Food Chain Magnet, they need to redesign these neighborhood tiles. So Andrew says, the funniest thing about that game is I'm assuming BK is Burger King in real life. So Kabuki Kid says, I love how you can send people from work to the beach and you don't have to pay them. Elliot says, almost amazingly bland graphics. Nice. Kabuki Kid points out that her friend printed up replacement tiles to make the game look better. Annoying to pay $100 for a game and then have to print and place stuff to fix it. That is something that I ran across on Board Game Geek because, of course, I was looking for some images to share that were from the company or the designer. That's how I usually kind of look at it. If it's from the designer, the artist, or the game company itself, then I should be fine just using their images. And there were a lot of people who had like homebrewed stuff for this game. So I don't know. Double K, is this a pretty good game? Do you enjoy playing the game? I'm curious. I am kind of curious. And yes, it does have sort of a very 50s sort of informational brochure look to it. Moving right along, let's talk about some role-playing games. Because there's a new bundle of holding that's arrived. I've got the dope on the science fiction Jovian Chronicles RPG bundle, which is from DreamPod 9. Spaces. This revived March 2018 Jovian Chronicles bundle presents the 1997 second edition of the tabletop science fiction role-playing game, you guessed it, Jovian Chronicles, from DreamPod 9. In the 23rd century, the solar system trembles on the brink of war. Earth's militaristic Sega forces, or it could be Sega, it's C-E-G-A, Sega. Anyway, their Sega forces, we'll say it's Sega, are ready to recapture the Mother World's restive colonies from the Mercurian Merchant Guild and the Zaibatsu corporate states of Venus to the powerful confederation on the moons of Jupiter. With an exciting original setting that combines hard science fiction and anime-style action, Jovian Chronicles puts you at the center of the struggle for the solar nations. This comprehensive bargain-priced revival once again gives you everything you need to climb into your exo armor suit, board an Alexander-class destroyer, and set out for interplanetary solar opera adventure. Not space opera, solar opera. For just $14.95, you'll get all 8 titles in this revived offers starter collection, which have a retail value of $56.50. These are DRM-free PDFs. They include Silhouette Core Deluxe Edition, the DreamPod 9 Universal Rules set that also underpins Heavy Gear. That's probably a role-playing game that people are more familiar with than maybe Jovian Chronicles. Also, the Jovian Chronicles Player Handbook, 2nd edition. This complete 258-page rulebook details the solar nations, organizations like Solapal and Zonet, the pilots and agents of the Jovian Confederation, and daily life in the planetary settlements and orbitals. 4 vital equipment and vehicle guides, as well as 2 planet source books, Earth and CIS Lunar Space. So it's like CIS Miami. I don't know. If you pay more than the threshold price of $25.82, at least that was what it was when I got this news piece, you'll level up and also receive 11 more titles worth an additional $76.50, including the Jovian Chronicles Companion, 4 more planet source books, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, all 3 Ships of the Fleet volumes, cataloging spacecraft from the Jovian Confederation and Earth's government, SIGA, the campaign sourcebook, the Chaos Principle, the Jovian Chronicles Game Master Handbook and Screen, and the Art of Jovian Chronicles Volume 1. I think there was only 1 volume. A gorgeous full-color 220-page gallery of cover art, characters, exo armors, vehicles, spacecraft, and more from the entire Chronicles line. Do want to point out, these PDFs are image scans of the original 1990s print copies with optical character recognition applied. Text is light but readable. The designer credits in some of the books are blurry. That's what happens when they're just scans of physical items, not digital products. But that happens. That does happen. These savings do run through September 21st. 10% of your payment after gateway fees will be donated to this offer's pandemic-related charity, Direct Relief. Sweet. So there you go. So you can save yourself a load of money on Jovian Chronicles. I have never run across this game. I have never taken a peek at it. I remember Heavy Gear, and maybe someone out there, possibly a Grade A or maybe Flaming Huron. They tend to be the guys that have like a lot of knowledge about RPGs out there. And anyway, do want to mention that if I remember correctly, wasn't Heavy Gear pretty crunchy? Isn't that a pretty crunchy system? I'm trying to remember. Maybe it's this different mech game, which off the top of my head, I cannot recall the name of, but I remember it came in like a coil-bound book. So, I don't know. So, Elliot is pointing out, hey, we were talking about the new edition of Twilight 2000 on Kickstarter. A Grade A mentioned it. Looks cool. I might pledge. Only 42 hours left, and it's over 50K. They only needed 11K. Yes, I am very familiar with the Twilight 2000 Kickstarter. Free League Publishing and I are yeah, we're decent. We're on good terms. They like my reviews, but strangely enough, they don't necessarily always send stuff. So, speaking of Free League Publishing, we should have, I shouldn't say we, I should have the review for Forbidden Lands, The Bitter Reach, later on this week or into the weekend. I keep saying I'm going to have it, and then I don't finish reading it. So, but yeah, I would definitely be checking that out. In fact, those of you who are watching, you might want to take a peek at the interview I did with Tomas Hammerstrom. I know I mispronounced the last name. We talk at great length about the Twilight 2000 Kickstarter. Do want to mention, I am seeing that we are getting some bumps here with the frame rate. So it looks like we might be dropping a few frames here and there. But if you want, check out that interview, because you'll learn stuff about it, about the game itself, that you probably would not know if you're just looking at the Kickstarter. For one, it's going to be a much grittier and realistic utilization of the Year Zero engine that they use. So, so a grade A is talking about DreamPod 9 is a weird company like Catalyst is. Yeah, taking a look at the DreamPod website, it is very strange. And yes, we won't even talk about Catalyst. Catalyst is, I feel sorry for the folks designing stuff for them because Catalyst just never, they just don't seem to have their finger on the pulse of their own company. I don't know, kind of weird. So Flaming Huron says they think that Free League did another live stream for Twilight 2K on YouTube. Very cool, very cool. All right, so unfortunately, it looks like we're just going through this little period where we're kind of up and down a little bit with some drop frames. I don't know. As long as we don't drop the actual stream, then we should be okay. Sometimes, let me go in here. You know, and the funny thing is, this is kind of this seems to be a YouTube thing. I don't know why, but it does. Does kind of happen. So, damn it. I am not liking how this is looking right now. So I did change up a little setting that sometimes kind of shakes this loose. So we'll see what we'll do here. So a Grade A says there was a Mark Miller podcast a few days ago about Twilight 2K. Cool. Cool deal. Too bad Mark Miller's latest Traveler is just awful. So Grade A says he sounded so cranky in general, very back in my day type conversation. Yeah. So Flaming Heron says the 10th anniversary show is sure turning out to be memorable. I don't know. As long as we don't drop. See, this is what throws me off with what happens with this is it's supposed to be a constant bit rate. So it's supposed to be a constant kilobits per second. And then what happens is it starts jumping all over the place. And it's not just below what I'm trying to do. It'll sometimes jump way higher than that. So it'll go from about 6,500 kilobits per second, which is what I want this to be at. All right, so we did see a disconnection here. Wow, yeah, Flaming Heron's right. This sure is turning out to be memorable. And it reconnected, and it's still screwing up with us. All right, so hopefully, hopefully this is this didn't break it into two shows because that'll tick me off. Because then that means I have to upload the recording that I'm doing of this, and that means the chat disappears. There's no chat. So maybe we've kind of gotten through that little hiccup there. So anyway, coming from Evil Hat Productions this October is the role-playing game Aegon. And I've got the dope. Heroes of Legend. Far back in the mists of antiquity, a poet sings of great deeds wrought by mighty heroes, of monsters slain and justice restored, of wise counsel and devious strategies, of courage, valor, and daring, defiant of the gods themselves. In Aegon, you create and play these heroes, crafting their epic tale into an immortal legend. On their way back home from the war, the heroes have become lost among strange islands populated by mythical creatures, dire beasts, treacherous landscapes, legendary kingdoms, and desperate people, all somehow cursed or abandoned by the cruel power of the capricious gods. It falls to you to seize this opportunity for greatness, to set things right in these lost lands, overcome the trials of gods, monsters, and people, prove the glory of your name, and win your way back home. In this book, you'll find rules for creating your heroes of myth and legend, building the glory of their name, and forging their eternal legend. Divine favor, bonds, and pathos, or pathos, I should say, for each hero to call upon to reach further than a mortal could. Islands full of gods, monsters, and people to challenge your heroes. guidance for the Strife player, who I'm assuming is the game master, that's my guess, who presents the challenges on the island. The Vault of Heaven to record your progress towards returning home, and the Ire of the Gods. Contests and battles that reveal the hero's greatness and glory as well as what they care most about. The Trials of Glory await. The 160-page hardcover of Egon arrives in October. It's going to carry an MSRP of $25, which will also include the PDF. And suddenly we are just dropping frames all over the place. Damn. I don't know what goes on here. For some strange reason, it's almost like when I hit the 8 o'clock hour my time, there becomes a problem here. So, don't know. We'll see what we're getting. Anyway, so this looked kind of interesting. I got to say, and this was not planned, but I do see that, like, a lot of the news pieces today have kind of an ancient world theme to them. You know, it's like, I didn't even realize that when I was putting everything together. But it's showing here that we are at like 35% drop frames. This is crazy. Well, one thing that I do notice is that sometimes when it's showing that a bunch of stuff is getting dropped, the finished video on YouTube is all right. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that that is the case. But yeah, this is very weird. I'm wondering if maybe it's storms in this area too that are messing around with our internet here. But yeah, it's almost like it's showing that it's dropping all the frames right now. So hold on. I'm going to go to something here. Let's see. All right. So we'll see what we can do. Like I said, I don't know. I don't know, but it is showing that is like dropping loads and loads of frames here. But then again, this same program was telling me that the stream was going live at 7 o'clock. We know how that turned out. All right, so my final news piece, now available in PDF, is the first setting book for the Lex Arcana role-playing game, which is from Quality Games. Here's the dope on Egyptus. When Romulus shall receive the scepter of his race and found the walls of Mars and call the people Romans, I have given no limits or duration to their possessions. I have given them empire without end. Virgil. Egyptus, the sands of time and gold. Lex Arcana is a historical fantasy role-playing game set in a Roman Empire that never fell. This volume is the first official setting module for Lex Arcana, describing the beautiful and mysterious province of Egyptus. In the land of the ancient pharaohs, descendants of the gods themselves, the cohors auxiliaria arcana must face intrigue and conspiracies. What, conspiracies? Curses from times forgotten, sand demons, and secrets so dangerous they could break the wisest of minds. Egyptus contains details on the main regions, cities, and individuals from the Delta to the Vale of the Nilus, Libya, the desert, and the Isle of Crete. Endless plot and adventure hooks, ranging from the greatest threats of the province to its most famous treasures and millennia-old mysteries. Tens of tables and sidebars with artifacts, encounters, and other dangers to throw in the mix. There's new rules, specializations, weapons, special actions, and conditions, as well as new enemies and monsters. And indigenimata, I have no idea what that is, and rituals. This is an Italian role-playing game that's translated into English. It also includes 3 breathtaking adventures that see the custodes travel from Creta to the Western Oasis, From the lush swamps of the Delta to the most dangerous of lost cities in the desert. Are you ready for the sands of time and gold? The 180-page Lex Arcana Egyptus PDF is available right now at DriveThruRPG for $19.90. So it's kind of cool. Looks like there's really cool artwork in this Lex Arcana. And I do believe that this is the second edition of this Italian role-playing game, and it was Kickstarted. It had a very successful Kickstarter. So Elliot Miller is talking about, oh yeah, he and Cthulhu go way back. He calls him Cthulhu, like he's a pal. So anyway, so great. He says, pretty good timing on Egon. Only took them 12 months to deliver. Yeah, well, right now with the COVID pandemic, I don't get too worked up about Kickstarters not getting out there, you know, not coming out when they were supposed to come out. But I don't know. Evil Hat's always been fairly nice to me. Anyway, that is it for the news. I do want to mention, last news piece I was talking about DriveThruRPG, and of course, DriveThruRPG, well, the Gaming Gang is an affiliate of the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to go visit, say, DriveThruRPG, Wargame Vault, what have you, please visit thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. And that way, if you do happen to make a purchase, we get a little portion of that sale. Those little portions all add up. Really do help keep the Gaming Gang website around. And I appreciate all the people out there who do use our banners before they go to, say, DriveThruRPG. All right, so some discussion about anyone ever try to read Trudvang or the Dark Eye translations? I reviewed the Dark Eye core book that they came out with. Isn't that like the 5th edition? It was, I thought it was all right. Dark Eye's very, as far as especially with English translations, Ulysses Spiel is very slow at getting some of the material out there. Then they just recently kickstarted the Magic book in English. It's kind of like, okay. I think the system's okay. I honestly think the actual system itself, the game system itself is wonky. Where you've got the 3 different 20-sided die that you're rolling, and the different skills are all broken up into the different attributes that kind of govern them. Bizarre, very bizarre. All right, so that is it for the news tonight. So yeah, you know what? Very, very bizarre tonight as far as the stream going on. From the YouTube changing the stream key to suddenly we've got all this stuff kind of dropping frames and that. I don't know. In fact, I'm taking a look and it seems like I'm looking at the most drop frames I've ever seen on one of our streams. So, I don't know. Anyway, once again, tonight marks the 10th anniversary of the Gaming Gang. So that's kind of cool. And I definitely appreciate that. So what I am going to do is, who's still hanging out in chat? Chime in real quick. Everybody who's chiming in chat. So great. He says it's Russian interference. So it looks like a few people are heading on out. So before you head out, I just need you to chime in real quickly if you're still in chat. So Voice of Ease hanging out. So Elliot's still there. A great A's like, yo, 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 yo. Martin is still with us. I think, there we go. Yep. So Flaming Heron's there. Says, yeah, I'm still here. People are just wanting to bail. All right. So effectively, if you're still in chat, chime in And you know the drill, how usually I do the contests. So if you chime in, yes, I know, Great A says, some of us were here before you, Jeff. Actually, you weren't here before me because I was there. It just wasn't streaming to you because you even saw I was in chat because I'm like, hey, everybody, happy Tuesday in chat. Anyways, the Madman's with us. All right, so if you've been watching live, you can choose any one of the top 10 role-playing game PDFs right now at Drive-Thru RPG. It is on me. So if you're a follower of the show, you know I usually do the contest where we've got the role-playing game PDFs from Drive-Thru RPG. Same thing, all you got to do, shoot me an email with your choice, and I will make sure to get you a copy of that. It's got to be in the top 10. So, you know what? As real quickly, I can take a look, tell you what's in the top 10 right now at Drive-Thru RPG. Hopefully it's not just a bunch of Battletech stuff. I hate when that. So we've got Ancestry and Culture. We've got Sword Chronicles, which I have heard good things about. We've got Alice is Missing, which is kind of a kind of strange sort of role-playing game. We have Kamagakari, which I did a news piece of. We've got Mysteries of the World for Scion, Shadowrun, Slipstreams, Secrets of Hero Questing. Oh, there is a Battletech one. So Battletech technical readout. I'm sure we're not going to have anybody jumping on that. Star Trek Adventures, the Klingon Empire, which is a core rulebook, but focusing on the Klingons. And A Witcher's Journal. So I'll tell you what, Frostgrave second edition is also in like the top 15. So I will toss that in as well, and we will throw the Battletech out because I don't think anybody's going to want Battletech. So if you are not necessarily a big role-playing game fan, you may want to go for the second edition of Frostgrave. So all you got to do is simply shoot me an email to Jeff McAleer at thegaminggang.com. Easy. Easy. So, Weird Alice is Missing. Hey, Russell Higgins has popped in. Good to see you, Russell. I know you were on vacation. I hope you had a good time. Yeah, so it says, yeah, the man says, yeah, some of us were here while Jeff was talking to himself for half an hour. It was about 35 minutes because I restarted the stream at 7:42. So Great A says, my Frostgrave hasn't shown up yet. It was pre-ordered long ago. Cool. So Russell says they're recovering from their vacation. Yeah, I used to find that when I'd go to conventions and cover conventions, which I always have a blast, you get back and it's kind of like, wow, I need a vacation. It's like, but you were just gone for like a week. So yeah, so Melvinius points out Frostgrave is basically skirmish miniatures. Or is it like army battle? No, it is skirmish. I thought Melvinius was pointing out that it was skirmish. It is, yes, it is a skirmish level. So anyway, I was going to tell you real quick, and then I've got some other things to show, and then I'll wrap up. But it looks like maybe, fingers crossed, looks like we've studied out. Looks like we've weathered that weird drop in frame storm. So it was kind of funny how the Gaming Gang started. And I have mentioned this before on previous shows, but I know there are a lot of people who have not seen it. So essentially what happened is Elliot Miller, my best friend back in the Chicago area. And of course, I was born and raised in the Chicago area. I now live once again in the Chicago area. But at the time, I was out in Arizona. I lived in, at that point, I was in Mesa, Arizona. It's like a suburb of Phoenix, although out on Phoenix, God forbid you'd call one of those cities a suburb. But anyway, Elliot had mentioned, hey, I'm starting to get back into, tabletop gaming and that, because for the most part, we had just kind of transitioned mainly over to playing computer games, right? Console games, stuff like that. And he said, hey, you should check out this podcast. It's pretty good. So, of course, it was the Dice Tower, and I gave it a listen. I checked it out, and I thought it was all right. But I said to Elliot, I said, I bet you that we could do something different. I didn't necessarily say we were going to do something better, because here we're coming out of nowhere, right? We didn't have any experience with podcasting or mics or audio equipment, any of that stuff. Didn't know anything about, you know, website design or WordPress or any of that stuff, right? So anyway, I said to Elliot, what we should do is we could do a podcast, but what we're also going to do is let's have a website with the podcast that actually shares the latest news, the gaming news. We'll write out the reviews and stuff like that. Elliot is actually voice of E, a grade A. He is hanging out. I did mention that earlier, that voice of E is actually Elliot. So I think Elliot will probably chime back in a second. There you go. So, dude, those podcasts were the best ever. So anyway, and that's, I said, yeah, let's do that. And that's how we started. And as I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier in this podcast, in this show, or if I mentioned it when I was streaming to no one, that it was kind of, what was I just going to say? Because now I just saw Mel Winnie has popped up with a question about Knights and Magic. Anyway. Oh, yeah. Okay. The other thing was, so what we started to do is we actually started posting articles, reviews, things like that, but we didn't tell anybody the website existed. So on September 1st, 2010 is when we actually went and started to say, hey, check out our website. Because the mistake a lot of people make, doesn't matter if they're starting a website or if they're doing a podcast or if they're doing like videos and stuff like that. It's like, oh, hey, check out my channel, and it's got nothing there. It has, one video, one podcast, couple of articles on a website. You're not sitting there going, oh yeah, well, I got to bookmark this so I can come back. We already had a full month of articles and stuff like that up there. So I think that really did help us out as far as getting started. So anyways, just wanted to float that out there. It's been 10 years. I got to be honest, I didn't think I'd still be doing this. 10 years later, certainly did not think I'd be sitting in front of a camera with, audio equipment and doing, a live stream Monday through Thursday nights, plus doing a bunch of other videos and things like that. So kind of cool. All right. Anyway, wanted to point out, I already mentioned that my review of Folk Magic of the Haven Isles is up. I also reviewed Delta Green PX Poker Nights from Arc Dream Publishing. That was one of the new reviews as well. I just received some goodies in the mail. So you may recall we were talking about the Adventurer's Guide to Theria, which is from Dungeons and Randomness. And this is the first volume, and it is Alara. I'm just taking a guess. I don't know what the pronunciation is. Anyway, so remember we did a news piece, it was about a week ago, and I was talking about, oh, this is out in PDF. And we had someone from Dungeons and Randomness hanging out in chat. Well, they sent me the book, and I got to point out, it's pretty big volume. So I am going to try to get this first look, do a page through of it. I was actually going to do it after the show tonight, but that ain't going to happen because the real stream ended up 40 minutes later. So I will try to do that tomorrow. So look for that later on in the week. And then another game we discussed, a news piece about a Kickstarter. And we had, I believe it was the owner of the company who was hanging out in chat. vinyl. So yes, so I got a copy of vinyl sent to me. And off the top of my head, isn't it Talon Strike Studios? Yep, it is. I thought I remembered that. So this is the game of collecting records. So here we got vinyl. And along with that came an expansion, and it's Masters of Metal. So this is the heavy metal expansion. Remember, we were during the chat when I did the news piece, we were kind of talking about, well, I don't think 1970s is really, the start of heavy metal. Well, this is it. So kind of cool. So look forward to a review of that in the very near future as well. All right. I noticed that we've got Jorge Rodriguez popping in towards the end of the show. Good to see you, Jorge. Thanks for stopping in. So metal or metal? Yes, Russell Higgins says, is it Masters of Metal or Metal? I was going to say Masters of Metal, but I didn't want to blow people's eardrums out. So Kabuki Kid says, most people feel Sabbath was when metal started. Yeah, I thought that's what we were kind of, but to me, I was like, isn't it like more early 80s that we really started talking about heavy metal? It wasn't like, if I remember right, I think it said something like it's 1975 or something. And I'm like, that's hard rock, not heavy metal. All right. Anyway, once again, those of you who are watching live, I see who's been chiming in and stuff like that. So once again, you can choose over at DriveThruRPG one of the top 10 PDFs that are available right now. Although we are going to toss out the BattleTech one, and we're going to replace it with the second edition of Frostgrave from Osprey Games. So you can choose any of those. Email me at jeffmackler@thegaminggang.com, and I will make sure to get a copy of those out to you. If you were unable to watch live, I'm going to do the same thing for the first 5 people who comment who were not part of this live chat. So if you, and it's got to be a nice comment. It can't be something rude, because I'm certainly not going to waste my credit on DriveThruRPG on some rude comment. So Kabuki Kid's talking about Iron Maiden, Motorhead, Diamond Head, Venom, Def Leppard. So here it has the names of the bands are Aluminum, like Metallica, Electric, I don't know what that's supposed to be, Blacksmith, Judean Trist, so that's supposed to be Judas Priest, Iron Force or Forge, one of the two, which obviously Iron Maiden, and then Piston Head, Motorhead. We'll get a kick out of checking this out. So Grady says, better comment, Jorge. No, Jorge counts. He's here. He's in live. He's okay. All right. Anyway, that is it for tonight's show. Bizarrely enough, I've done basically 2 streams tonight. One that you folks got to watch, and the other one. Anyway, as I like to point out, if you like this video, please do me a favor. Give it a quick thumbs up. Hey, where'd the date disappear? Blink. There we go. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that notification bell, because that way it'll let you know when the Daily Dope streams live right here on YouTube, Monday through Thursday nights. And it'll also inform you when I upload standalone videos as well, such as my upcoming first look at The Adventurer's Guide to Theria Volume 1. So Elliot says, yes, it was the lost stream. So Kabuki Kid says that her YouTube spazzed out, so she missed a chunk of the show. Well, everybody missed the first like 35 minutes of the other show. All right. Those of you who spent some time hanging out, celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Gaming Gang, as well as, just bumming around on a Tuesday night. Always appreciate any of you taking some time out to join me in chat, keeping me company as I just babble on and on and on. But of course, if you don't have an opportunity to watch live, maybe you're even watching on Memorex, I certainly appreciate that as well. Thank you all very, very much. 10 years down, maybe another 10 years ahead. I don't know. I don't know. So everybody enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night / Wednesday morning. And of course, as I close out all my videos, unfortunately, during this pandemic, please let me remind you to be smart, stay safe. If this will switch over, I'm trying to leave. I really am. I'm trying to leave. Oh, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, let me point out that the things I'm going to be pointing at, if you are just watching the Daily Dope stream, you may not see what I'm pointing at. Usually it will take about 12 hours once the stream is finished for YouTube to allow me to add my end screen. But if you're watching one of my other videos, such as my reviews or interviews, first looks, page throughs, what have you, well, then by all means, click right here and you can subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel. If you click right up here, you'll find the latest episode of my live stream, The Daily Dope. And if you click over here, that's going to show you something that YouTube thinks you might like. Regardless, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and thank you very much for watching.